good afternoon once again, everybody. Midnight in Paris, 3 p.m. in the West Coast, 6 p.m. in the East Coast, and day 14 of C&C Live here at the Olympics, following day 11 of the Olympics. In just 120 hours, it'll all be over. We'll be talking about the closing ceremony right here, but for now, we've still got plenty of Olympics to react to. I'm Colin. Zach will be joining us in a few minutes. Charlie, unfortunately, today has a dental emergency. The good news, it's not too bad, so don't worry about it. It's just urgent, and he should be back likely tomorrow once he deals with his dental issues. But for now, make sure, before we get into everything that happened on day 11 of the Olympics, make sure to subscribe right here on YouTube, C&C Talks YouTube channel, and check out some of our episodes of C&C Talks right here on the C&C Talks YouTube channel, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For all those places and more, you can go to cctalks.com. And if you go to cctalks.com/Discord, you can join our Discord server and interact with us there. And then you can follow us on Twitter at CC Talks Podcast to interact with us there. And if you want to interact with us during the live stream, just head on over to the live chat, drop your questions, comments, whatever you have for us in there, and we will respond to it live on air. Like I said, day 11 of the Olympics today. Originally supposed to be 15 more medals handed out. The sailing events did get canceled today due to the wind conditions. So no medals there, which brought it down to 13. However, we do have 15 medals to react to, because we will react to the surfing competition from last night. We finally got the surfing medal competitions in. Surfing is final from Tahiti. But today was a great day at the Olympics for team sports. That's, I think, really what a lot of day 11 at the Olympics was about, right? Because we had knockout stage games in water polo, handball, field hockey, football, basketball, volleyball, and beach volleyball. So essentially all of the big team sports had knockout rounds in them. Now, there was more than that today. There was more track and field, 5 medals in track and field. There was artistic swimming. We had a diving medal. We had more table tennis, as the team table tennis events are continuing and getting underway. We had skateboarding. Skateboarding is back. Sport climbing is here for the next few days, actually through Saturday, so almost through the end of the Olympics. We had our first medals awarded in wrestling. So a busy day in Paris. At times, I would say it felt like a chaotic day in Paris. There were times today when watching the Olympics where I was like, I'm trying to watch 5 different things at once today. And it was at times very, very overwhelming, but in some ways, the chaos of the Olympics is what makes it fun in a lot of ways. I think we start with what went down last night in Tahiti with the surfing finals. We had the bronze medal. Well, first we had the semifinals, actually. Then we had the bronze medal matches, and then the gold medal matches. I'm not entirely sure why they feel that surfing is something that you need like a bracket format for, right? Like, obviously it makes sense in sports where it has to be like a 1v1, such as, basketball. You can't have 3 teams playing a basketball game, so you have to have some sort of bracket. But surfing is one where each score is independent of each other, so you don't have to have just 2 going head to head in the bracket. You could just have them all going, and then you select, like, you would start with the top, however many qualified, and then you take like the top 10 or something. And then you have another round where they all go, and whoever gets the highest score out of those 10 gets gold, and second gets bronze, and second gets silver, and third gets bronze. But nope, that's not what they did. They do a bracket format. And Zach, welcome into to C&C Live. We are just talking about the surfing competition last night, which we finally had finals. And on the men's side, the favorite was an American, but he was ousted in the round of 16 a few days ago. So
Oh, okay.
it was a Frenchman who won the men's competition. In fact, unless I'm mistaken, it's a Frenchman who actually like lives in French Polynesia, where the surfing competition is held. So that's a pretty cool
Well,
moment
yeah.
for him.
I mean, I guess that helps too because you just know the area and
Know
the
the waves.
water
Yeah, no,
well.
no, you know the waves exactly.
Yeah, you know the
Um,
waves.
yeah, exactly. Now, this final, it was against Australia's Jack Robinson. Bronze, by the way, went to Gabriel Medina from Brazil. This final was interesting. So they have like 35 minutes out there on the waves, uh, both at the
Right.
same time,
Yeah.
and essentially they get to ride as many waves as they want, and
Yeah.
they get a score for each one that they do, and then they take each of their top two scores and combine them, and that's
But
your total score.
from
And
what I know, you have to be careful about which waves you choose to ride though, and which waves you don't choose to ride, because if you don't ride any of the waves, and then they
then you're getting a
determine that
zero.
there were rideable waves, then
Yeah.
you're at a huge
Yeah, no,
disadvantage.
you have to ride some waves, but like, is there a huge disadvantage to just riding a bunch of waves? Only that if it's a bad wave, then you have to go paddle back to or you
Yeah,
pick up the waves, and you also lose priority over your opponent over which waves you get. So
which is a big thing.
no, it matters a lot.
Yeah.
But what really cost Jack Robinson from Australia in these
Hmm.
35 minutes, he only rode one wave.
Oh no.
Now, it was a pretty good wave that he rode. He did a good job with it, but there was, I believe, there were a total of 3 waves ridden during the entire 35 minutes, 2 by, the Frenchman, 1 by the Aussie, um, and
Was it
it was
just not?
all wi it was all within, like, a 3-minute period. So there was
Oh.
only, like, a very small window in which there were really quality waves,
Oh, so
and
it wasn't entirely their fault. It was really just
yeah,
the waves
but
were not.
yeah, but those waves uh, were really good. And then on the women's side, it was there were more waves that were rideable, but none were quite as good. An American actually won the gold here, Caroline Marks.
Nice.
Tatiana Weston Webb won the silver. Bronze went to another Frenchman, Johanne Defay. Tatiana Weston Webb is from Brazil. But in the final here, like the way they were okay at first, each of them got like scores on their first waves of under one, which is not great at all. Um, but as as it as it went on, there were some more and more waves. But I think what was interesting here is that Tatiana Weston Webb had her best wave right at the end with like a
Huh.
minute left, and it takes the judges a minute to score. So the American Caroline Marks just had to wait to see if her score would hold up enough or whether this person's score would beat hers. And she could have chosen to try another wave, but she didn't. She ended up just trying to put faith in the score that she had up there. And
You know.
it was barely enough, but she didn't find out until a couple minutes after the competition was over, after there was nothing else she could do about it at that point.
Oh no.
So some drama there works out for the US. They got a gold there. And that, as of last night, tied the US up with China in the medal count again.
Oh wow.
In the
So
gold medal count.
so China pulled ahead again, I guess, because we were tied, like
Yeah,
14,
China
14.
pulled ahead yesterday, then the US clawed back, tied it up. Now, as for the developments today, 1 gold medal for China today, 3 for the US.
Yes.
It really doesn't matter how you sort the medal table, guys. The US is ahead of China.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yep.
matter. I don't care how you sort the table.
Hmm.
We are in the lead.
Is
And we're not
France
giving it
still
up, which
in?
is definitely not gonna age badly tomorrow.
Is France still in second for medal count? I'm guessing, yeah.
No, China has, uh, 30 almost sorry. No, they have 11 medals more than France does. They have almost 30 fewer than the US as of now. I'm not sure whether this is updated since the boxing match that took place just a few minutes ago, but as of now, it's the US with 86 medals, 24 golds, China with 59 medals, 22 golds, and then France with 48 medals, 13 golds. And Zach, once again, as of right now, Great Britain has the third most bronze medals as of now, just like 2020. We discussed this, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. It would be
They are
funny if
very
it ended that way too, being the
they're
third
very good at
best.
being the third best at being the third best at something.
Yes, which isn't a particularly great thing normally. I mean,
No,
normally you don't go for being the third best at being the third best.
yeah.
Normally you go for being the first best at being the first best.
Yep. Uh, that's the US. We're the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
We're also the best of the second best and the best of the third best at the moment. So, and we're not stopping here. We've got 5 more days of medals, and the US is going to win a lot of them.
Yeah,
Fingers
definitely.
crossed. Overall, it was a pretty good day for the US. So we talked about the stuff that happened last night after we were off the air. Let's get into what happened today. Let's start with the team sports because, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, lots of knockout stage rounds today in team sports. Let's start with football. Semifinals of the women's football competition. U.S. Germany and Brazil Spain. Brazil absolutely stunned Spain 4-2. This was Spain's the defending women's World Cup champions, but they lose in the stunner to Brazil, who's a country that's fine generally at women's football. Nothing special like they generally are in men's football. But then U.S. Germany. It was clear from the beginning that the United States was the better team in this game, and it makes sense because
Yeah,
they had played each other in the group stage too, and the U.S. had won 4-1. But it didn't show in the score that the U.S. was the better team. It stayed 0-0 until it actually went to extra time. But then the
interesting.
U.S. gets a goal on a lone defensive play by the Germans, by a great goal by Sophia Smith. They hold on a brilliant save by goalie Alyssa Nair, and end up winning this game for the first time since 2012. The United States women's national team will play for a gold medal on Saturday.
Nice. That's great.
And that's not where it ended for the United States in team sports. Well, it did end for them in women's beach volleyball. There are 2 duos in women's beach volleyball, both of whom were favored to finish on the podium. Neither of them can make it past the quarterfinals, which is pretty
Why is that?
embarrassing
Why is that?
because they did this thing called losing.
Wait, to which teams?
Uh, their top duo of Hughes and Chang lost to a Switzerland duo, and
Huh.
their other women's team of Nuss and Cloth lost to Canadians. So I'm feeling
Okay.
pretty salty at the moment.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah, yeah, it is. There is still one other American duo left in beach volleyball on the men's side. They'll play tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time in the quarterfinals, and hopefully they can get further than that. Their matchup is against Qatar, so I'd be very disappointed if they lose to Qatar.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, volleyball, it was the women's quarterfinals today. U.S. gets a win. There was never really a doubt. They played Poland. Start to finish in this match, they looked like the better team the entire way.
Oh,
Same
wow.
with Italy over Serbia, same with Brazil over the Dominican Republic. The only really close beach volleyball game today, the only quality one was China and Turkey. Now, China actually beat the US in the group stage. I believe the only team to beat the US in this tournament so far. Um, However, China was unable to beat Turkey. China's out here, and that I think that's probably a sigh of relief from the American side, as their chances of winning gold likely went up significantly.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. Let's talk some water polo. Quarterfinals of that too on the women's side. The U.S. women's water polo team, they're just so dominant. Now, today they struggled. Actually surprisingly struggled. They were having trouble finding the back of the net versus Hungary, but
Yikes.
they did enough. They scored 5, which was enough to win the game somehow. There was some late
Oh,
drama. There was some late drama. I believe the game that it was tied 4-4 heading into the fourth quarter. Um,
what's a normal sort of score for water polo? I'm not
so the
sure.
other games today were 9-6, 11-8, and 18-8.
So it
So
usually is over 10 at the very least on both sides.
I'd say usually like high single digits.
Oh, okay.
As
So
I
this was a relatively low scoring game. Not by a
Yeah,
ton,
yeah.
but
And again, nobody scored in the fourth quarter. It was tied for a while until about 5 minutes into it when the U.S. scored to get the lead. No one scored after that either, and so the
oh
U.S.
wow.
just held on. There was some late drama. It ended up not being a huge issue because Hungary kept getting penalties and having to sit for 20 seconds. So the U.S.'s goal in the fourth period was on a 6-on-4.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah. Uh, Now I will say, also late in the game, Hungary's coach got ejected.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, he was told to pack up his stuff and leave the pool deck.
And what? Why is that? What did he
I
do?
I don't even know. He was shown a red card by the ref though, which first I didn't even know that red cards were a thing in water polo. Also, wasn't entirely sure how they worked. It turns out that the ref isn't actually in the pool. They're standing outside the pool watching, which it really feels like you should get some refs that know how to swim, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's easier to see. I mean, because the water blocks your view. Maybe I don't
I
know.
don't know, but like hockey refs skate on the ice. They
Yeah, I
can't
know.
swim in
Yeah.
the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's water polo for today. Handball, we had the start of the women's semifinals there. France looks like the team to beat on the women's side. We'll talk about that men's side tomorrow after they probably lose in the quarterfinals and what would be a big disappointment, but they look like the team to beat on the women's side. So there's a great match between Hungary and Sweden that went to overtime. They were knotted up essentially the whole way. Sweden did pull ahead in overtime. Norway with a win, Denmark with the win. So 3 Scandinavian countries into the semifinals in women's handball, and I believe that there's a chance that we'll have 2 tomorrow. Norway, Sweden, and Denmark are all in the men's quarterfinals, but Denmark and Sweden will play each other. So tough bit of luck for their alliance, which I doubt actually exists in sports, but we're going to pretend it does for the sake of that.
Yeah. So, do we want to move on to another team sport?
Yeah, I'll talk hockey and then we'll talk basketball. Field hockey today. Netherlands just beat up on Spain. There was never really a chance for Spain to get back into this game.
And what
Netherlands
is
ends
it?
up winning
Round is it?
4-2. What?
What round is it? Is it the
Oh, this was the
semifinal?
semifinals, the men's semis today.
Okay.
So we're very close to the end. And then Germany and India were close for a while. This game went right down to the wire. Germany got the winning goal. So that'll be a good final. Germany and the Netherlands in the field hockey championship. Um, Germany's goal was with I believe 6 minutes to go in the game. They took the lead, and that was plenty for them. And then we didn't even mention that U.S. Brazil final in soccer, in women's soccer coming up on Saturday, I believe. Um,
Yeah.
the U.S. on paper should be favored to win. I would at this point I would be disappointed if the U.S. doesn't win the gold here, and that's not something I thought that I would be saying in 2 weeks ago, but they've looked really good in this tournament, and they've gotten a little bit of help. They're the probably the best other team besides the U.S. is already out in Spain, so the U.S. should win the gold. Now,
Great.
yeah, now basketball. Um, we had the men's quarterfinals today, women's quarterfinals tomorrow. U.S. did not lose. Zach, I know
Yeah.
you watched a bunch of this game. 122-87.
Hmm.
Dominant fashion. They had a little bit of a scoring drought in the second quarter where they really just couldn't get anything to fall. But other than that, they looked really good. What
Yeah.
were your takeaways in this game?
Um. Well, I watched the first third
Yeah.
because I ran out of time, but I mean they looked great. Um, again, maybe I mean I don't know, but I would say maybe not as good as they should have. It felt like a little bit too much of a struggle and I mean struggle in very big quotes there, but
Their chances, I will say this,
yeah.
their chances of winning this game were never in doubt from a minute in. It was very obvious who was going to win.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. But as we sort of discussed, like this team really shouldn't struggle against anybody at all.
And
Um,
definitely not Brazil.
no, definitely not. Um, yeah, I mean, pretty, I would say, uneventful game. Just sort of the U.S. won,
Yeah.
um,
And
and
then like when I
yeah,
look at this game, for me, like it was practically going into it a given that they were going to win. So really, what I was looking for is, do they look good enough to beat France? Because there's a good chance
I
that's who
haven't
they'll be
seen.
playing in the gold medal game.
I
I think that they do look good enough to beat France. That doesn't mean they will, but I think that they look good enough to do so.
and I finally saw what you've sort of been talking about Embiid.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of fumbled the ball in the beginning multiple times.
He's kind of there, but he doesn't do a ton or that's
Yeah,
useful.
which is
Um,
kind of odd,
let's
but
take a look at the box score. He what were his numbers for today? Okay, he scored 14 points. It was a decent game for him in very few minutes too. He's been getting a lot fewer minutes, just over 12 minutes. Um, Curry 0 of 1 from the 3-point line. He struggled shooting the three ball this tournament. I'm curious
really,
if the reason for this is because in the NBA the 3-point line is farther back. So I
yeah,
wonder if he's just not
oh yeah,
used to shooting it
mhm.
from like a foot closer.
It's possible, yeah. Even though it technically should be easier for somebody who's that tuned in to a
Yeah.
certain distance, it's probably harder.
Yeah. Now, this was also a great game from Devin Booker. 5 of 7 from downtown, 18 points overall. Um, good game for him. Good game for Anthony Davis. Good game for Kevin Durant, as always in USA basketball. Now, I believe Kevin Durant now the all-time leading scorer for the United States in the Olympic Games. Um,
Wow.
Also a good game from Anthony Edwards. Tyrese Halliburton still confuses me as to what his role on this roster is. He doesn't really play much at all. Like, why is he there? Like, nothing against him. I just I just think that they could have chosen a different guy if they just didn't want someone to play.
Yeah, it seems like just basketball choices in general for in the Olympics for the US have been slightly odd
Yeah.
recently.
I am I am really hoping that I don't have to later this week when the US if the US loses call for Steve Kerr to be fired from this USA
Yeah,
basketball team, but I think that chances are if the USA does not
losing.
win the gold medal, that's the call up that I will be making.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, because there's no reason. There's really no good reason why they shouldn't win. There's no good
Yeah.
reason. You
Again,
can't
there's
have.
other teams with plenty of talent, but it still pales in comparison to just the raw talent of the USA roster.
Yeah, yeah. It does. So I mean, and when you have that much talent, you know it can't be the players.
I
So
mean, well, I mean,
you got
sometimes it can be if like a bunch of players are just like, look,
out of
here's the thing. Well, almost all of these players that are on the team, they're like the biggest star on their own team, pretty much.
yeah,
So they're used to getting like the most plays drawn up for them, being like the guy. And I think that for some people, it can be hard to take having to come into a role where you're not that, because
Even
it,
even
it
if
takes
you get
it takes having a smaller ego. So I can
sure, yeah,
understand why like things could just not work, and that could be on those players. But
sure,
by
yeah.
all accounts, that's not what's going on behind the scenes at Team
No,
USA. It seems like all the players are fully bought in and willing to take on whatever role they're given.
yeah. Well, I mean, if I was one of those players, and I of course I'm not, and I don't know what it's like at all, but I would say it'd be kind of special to be able to get to play with all these other players that are, the best of the best. I mean, that's not something you get to do every day, right? And it's
Sure.
not just like one all-star game or something. It's like a full tournament. So it's I would say it's pretty cool. Now that doesn't mean that some of them may be missing the spotlight, but that could be that would be a reason that I would sort of maybe want to tone down my ego if I were one of them.
Sure. But some people don't have that capability.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Draymond Green isn't allowed on Team USA anymore. Now, to be fair,
Was
that reason is mostly not ego. He's used to not getting all the plays drawn up for him. The reason is that they didn't want him punching anybody.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Is that a problem?
With Draymond Green?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh
Ask
no.
him how many of his own teammates he's punched.
His own teammates?
Yep.
Wow. Good
Yep.
guy.
Yeah. So the U.S. in the semifinals will play Serbia. They've beat Serbia already by a comfortable margin. I expect them to beat them again. Serbia, though, a great effort today against Australia. Australia was up 24, I believe, in the second quarter. Serbia stormed back, took the lead in the fourth quarter. Australia was able to come back and force overtime, but that was all they were able to force. Ends up Australia's now out. And then on the other side, this is where I really thought the fireworks would be with Germany. Germany and Greece playing each other ended up
Yeah.
not being that great of a game. Germany winning. France
Oh.
Canada, I expected to be an incredible game. It was okay. It's not a game that I'll remember in a month. Uh, it was fine. France won. Canada's out, which is also fun to talk about because Canada talked a big game up this year about how they were going to be the ones to take down Team USA, especially a few
Right.
guys on Team Canada. Turns out that the Canadians couldn't even beat the French.
And what sport was this again?
Basketball.
They said that they were gonna be the ones
A bunch
to
a
take
bunch of
down the
players on the
US.
team were talking a big game about how like they think Team USA is vulnerable. They think that like the talent gap doesn't really exist anymore. That they're just as good and they're going to take them down in the Olympics. Guys, you couldn't take down France.
Was that a sad attempt at intimidation or something? Like,
Yeah, pretty much. Uh, but I don't tend to be intimidated by people that lose to
no.
France, mostly because they're not in the competition anymore, so we don't have to worry about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can enjoy their flight home back to Canada.
Yes. Yes, they can. That
Um,
that's hilarious.
does it for basketball. Let's talk about the track and field today. Track and field today was good.
Yeah.
Track and field today was very, very good. Um, let's see, 5 medal events today. We'll start with the women's hammer throw. A Canadian, Cameron Rogers, won, so now Canadians winning both the men's and the women's hammer throw. However, an American coming in with the silver, someone from China with the bronze. Not the American that everybody thought we could see near the top of the podium. Deanna Prince, an American who was favored to do not, I don't think win, but do pretty well in this competition. She got 11th. So
Oh,
underperformance there, but her teammate makes up for it. Women's 400-meter hurdles was the semifinals today, but boy, we're going to be in for a treat in the finals coming up. We've got a race between like the two biggest rivals in the sport, Femke Bol out of the Netherlands, but then of course the one who I think is the slight favorite to win, in Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni from the United States. Zach, she is incredible.
really? What? How's that?
Well, she set the world record in trials, Olympic trials. Yeah, Olympic trials back in Eugene, Oregon. She holds at least the top two times in the world in this event. We'll put it this
Wow.
way: when she ran the 400-meter hurdles at the Tokyo Olympics,
Yeah.
if that time would have been good enough to put her in seventh place in the women's 400 meters.
Wow.
Except she ran it with hurdles.
That's insane.
She's really fast.
Yeah. Wow.
One of my
That's
favorite
crazy.
athletes to watch on Team USA. Long jump final today from Greek winning the gold, Jamaica the silver, Italy the bronze. No Americans in this competition. Now we'll get to the Americans in a sec. The women's 3K steeplechase was a pretty incredible race at the end. An athlete from Bahrain coming back and ends up winning on that final lap with a Ugandan in second and a Kenyan in third. Then we get to the two races that Americans did really well in. The first was surprisingly the men's 1500-meter final.
Yeah. I saw
Everybody that was on the podium in Tokyo raced in this final.
Wow.
The winner, the Norwegian Jacob Ingebrigtsen. I don't know. There's no chance I said that right, but he
Tokyo, right?
he led for most of this race.
Yeah.
He did not make the podium in the end.
No, I think he sort of, what it looked like is he just tired out.
Yeah,
He just tired out at the end.
exactly.
He
Josh
couldn't
Kerr,
drive.
who finished silver, I believe silver, definitely on the podium in 2021 in Tokyo. He got silver this time, set a record for his country. But then this is what people are talking about. The comeback from two Americans, really. Jared Nagus, who finished third in this race, a personal best for him to get the bronze medal, and nearly second, just 100th of a second away from getting that silver medal. But then especially the comeback from Cole Hawker of the United States, an Olympic record to win a race I don't think anyone had him finishing on the podium in.
Yeah.
Incredible.
He was in fifth, like on the last lap, maybe halfway through the last lap.
Yeah.
He was in fifth. And somehow in that last sort of 200 meters, I guess, he just, I mean, he found some new speed and just crushed everybody.
I have spent half the afternoon watching his final 200 meters.
He made it look easy.
Just playing it over and over again. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
It is. He made it look easy, just passing all those other Olympic athletes.
He made them look like they weren't Olympic athletes at the end. I'm going to be honest.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Speaking of 200 meters, we had the women's 200 meter event today. The final was the battle. This was Julian Alfred of St. Lucia, the one that won the gold medal in the 100. She was going for the double, did not get it. She finishes with the silver medal, but it's still amazing, Zach. 3 days ago, I think maybe 4 days ago, regardless, just a few days ago, the country of St. Lucia had 0 Olympic medals all time.
And now they have
a gold and a silver in 2 of the biggest events in the Olympics.
Yeah. From one athlete too, which is
one athlete.
incredible. Yeah. Just shows how incredible Julian
I mean,
Alfred.
It might be more impressive if it was from 2 different athletes because,
Sure, yeah, yeah, for the
you can
country.
always have your one outlier that's really, really good. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
and
sure.
that seems, at the moment at least, to be what St. Lucia has. I hope that they send more good athletes in the future.
Does
But
Sha'Carri Richardson normally run the 200 as well? I
she
think
does
so.
not run the 200, no.
Oh,
However, Americans finished first and third in this race as well. Gabrielle Thomas winning, Brittany Brown getting the bronze medal here. Um, good stuff for the Americans.
I wonder
That's
why Sha'Carri Richardson doesn't run the 200. I mean, most 100 runners
I
also
don't
run
know
the
if I'd say most. A lot of
not,
them do, but I don't know
but
if
a
I'd
lot.
say most.
I would say a lot of the top runners do.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I imagine that she'll run the relays for the United States.
4x100.
Yeah, the 4x100, which is something that I don't have any actual numbers on this at the moment, but I think this is something that the US could absolutely win.
We have
Um,
a fast team, a really fast team.
yeah. I mean, just judging by the fact that in the men's and women's 100 meters, the Americans had 3 finalists in each of them.
Yeah,
They should be okay in the relays.
yeah. And in the
Uh,
100, we went 1 and 3. So
and we went, I think, 2 and 3 in the women's, unless I'm mistaken. Um, yeah, we went 2 and 3. So
nice. Yeah.
yeah,
So
good
yeah, yeah,
good stuff
definitely.
for America. Um, then that one other gold medal for the U.S. today came in wrestling. The women's freestyle 68 kilograms. Amit Elor beats woman from Kyrgyzstan. Japan, and this is wrestling is another sport, as is boxing, where, and I also believe taekwondo too, where you have 2 bronze medals for some reason. It's Japan and Turkey with the bronze medal here. The other wrestling events, the men's Greco-Roman 130 kilogram, gold went to Cuba, Chile got silver, bronze was split between Iran and China. It's a delightful duo.
Yeah.
And in men's Greco-Roman 60 kilograms, Japan the gold, China the silver, and North Korea and Kyrgyzstan the bronze. So North Korea's actually gotten themselves a few medals this in the last week or so.
Can we also just appreciate? I watched a little bit of I believe the Greco-Roman.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know what weight class it was, but the men's Greco-Roman, the adjectives they use to describe the size of these men is kind of
yes,
hilarious. The
yes.
announcers. I believe one of them called one of the one of the wrestlers a mountain.
Yep. Sure, it's a good point. I think we should give I at least personally want to give a huge shout out to a lot of the way NBC has covered these Olympics. I had my doubts in a lot of ways, given how many celebrities they were bringing onto their coverage, that it would actually influence the coverage of like specific sports. But no, it just seems to be in like dead airtime moments on their broadcasts. So I will say, with the exception of the opening ceremony when Kelly Clarkson and Peyton Manning bombed, and I'm sure the closing ceremony too when Jimmy Fallon is going to bomb. Um, uh, but other than that, I think their coverage has been very good. I think that Colin Jost's bits from Tahiti have been excellent. Um,
Yeah.
A
Um,
plus plus. Um, I think that Lori Hernandez has done a phenomenal job on color commentary for gymnastics. It's really really good. She makes herself really relatable while also, I think, doing a great job of explaining things to viewers that don't necessarily know a ton about specifically the scoring in gymnastics. Um, uh, the duo that calls swimming, Dan Hicks and Rowdy Gaines, they're just the best. They're, in my opinion, one of the all-time great announcer duos. And then let's see who else. Oh, Noah Eagle has done a phenomenal job calling USA basketball games. So overall, I think just the announcers
yeah.
have done a very, very solid job for NBC.
Yeah, absolutely. I've enjoyed the announcing. I haven't really encountered any announcing during these Olympics that I would say like really stood out as bad to me. All of it's been good.
Well, Kelly Clarkson during the opening
Oh,
ceremony.
yeah.
But
Right. I mean for sports,
yeah,
for sports. Yeah. I think Snoop Dogg single-handedly made dressage more interesting.
interesting. Yes, yes.
Yes.
The only exciting thing about it. Speaking of horses, the equestrian competition. Did I just call it the horsing competition? Uh, the equestrian competition is done as we had our final medal today in jumping. There was actually a three-way tie for gold, so they had a jump off,
Oh,
and
wow.
ends up with Germany getting the gold, Switzerland the silver, the Netherlands the bronze. Back to combat sports, we had our first medal in boxing, the women's 60 kilograms. Ireland the gold, China the silver, bronze going to Brazil and Chinese Taipei, which is officially how Taiwan is forced to be referred to in the Olympics. Due
Really?
to, yes, China objected to them having their own Olympic committee, so they so the IOC essentially cut a deal with them with China where Chinese Taipei could or Taiwan could have their own Olympic committee, but in exchange, it had to be called Chinese Taipei, and also they don't get to use their own flag and their national anthem can't play when they win
Really?
the gold medal.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's that's really crappy.
Yeah. So let's see. That does it for. Let's see. We talked boxing, wrestling. We talked track and field. We had another medal today in cycling, track cycling. The men's team sprint we had today, and it was the bronze is Australia, gold is the Netherlands, Great Britain is the silver. A lot more world records in these track cycling events so far.
There was
Not
one yesterday on the women's side,
Yeah,
wasn't there?
yeah. They broke it several times during the women's competition yesterday. I
Really?
think they broke it
Wow.
several times during the men's competition today too.
Wow.
Yep,
Interesting.
definitely interesting. Let's see. We had nope, that was yesterday. Excuse me. Skateboarding. We had the women's park
Oh,
final
yeah.
in skateboarding. This was somewhere that the US probably should have gotten the medal. Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I usually when I think of skateboarding, I usually think of the US as having a lot of skateboarding.
Well, and also they just have athletes in this competition that are capable of winning medals. But nope,
Yeah.
they finished. Bryce Wetstein of the U.S. finished in sixth. I thought after her first run that her score would hold up and get her on the podium, if not win gold. It did not. It only got her sixth. Risa True of Australia won gold. Koguna Hiraki, Japan, the silver. Sky Brown of Great Britain, the bronze. Arisa True's run was phenomenal, and actually two of her runs really, really good. Same with Kokona Hiraki, just slightly worse. In fact, if you look at total points between the three runs, Kokona Hiraki has significantly more points, but it's just the best run that counts in the skateboarding competition. We had diving today, and Zach, it may not surprise you that China won another gold medal here.
Yeah. I mean, they're just really good at diving.
They
Really.
also won a silver. North Korea won the bronze. In fact, after the first couple rounds, it was clear the only competition would be which Chinese diver gets gold and which Chinese diver gets silver.
Wow.
This is their sport, I guess. Diving. This is just
Yeah.
their thing. I
They're
wouldn't
also good at the synchronized diving as well.
synchronize swimming. Yeah. Well, you synchronize diving too. Yeah. Well, synchronized swimming as well. We'll get to that in a sec.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. Let's see. Other medals that we had on this Tuesday. Again, no sailing medals today because of more wind delays. We talked equestrian, track cycling, boxing. I think I think that's all the medals. So we'll go to artistic swimming. Day 2 out of 3 in the artistic swimming team competition. Um, The United States had a good day today, a great routine in the team free routine. However, while that put them in great position to win a silver medal, they're sitting like 70 points behind China.
Wow, that's insane.
Turns out China's really good at this whole synchronized swimming thing. The US put up a pretty good performance. I really, really liked the routine that they did. Really impressive. Um, it was not close to China's routine. Like, just watching it, the gap in talent was evident. And I feel like on judged sports, that's not something I can always say.
No, no, not
But
really.
I guess when it's 70 points, it's a pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Oh, can I take this moment just to bring up a very small rant
sure.
about Peacock, the
Oh,
ad.
yes, please.
Well, there are many things about Peacock, but I've recently noticed the ads during the gameplay. They have ads during the gameplay that show up at you. Have you seen this? Where
Yep,
it cuts off like 3/4 of the screen and shrinks the view, and then they have an ad playing there.
yep, that's an NBC decision. So here's the deal with that. NBC's logic on this is essentially the IOC doesn't allow for TV timeouts, like they won't extend breaks in the action for commercials on TV. So
Yeah,
in order to make money, they have to cut out some of the competition, which sucks.
that's annoying.
Especially like if like I get it if you're just on like the NBC broadcast channel, I guess I get it, but if you're on Peacock to access that, you already have to be paying a
Yeah,
bunch of money. They're making
exactly.
a ton of money. I don't know if you've seen how many minutes have been streamed either, but it's in the tens, possibly hundreds of billions so far this
Minutes.
Olympics. It's
Wow.
actually absurd just how many minutes
This
of the Olympics
shows
people in this
money.
country are streaming. They don't need the money. Well, they actually they do because they pay the IOC a lot of money, like way too much money. And I don't think that they profited on last year on or at least on the Winter Olympics. So
Seriously? That's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. But I will say, I think that in general, this is by far the best that NBC has ever done with Peacock. The best thing that they've ever done with that platform. Um,
Sure. Yeah. Although
like
I would say just the platform itself is kind of
it's
trashy.
not always easy to find stuff.
No, it's not. And also just it's glitchy. And I would say the way they've organized the Olympics on Peacock, not my favorite at all.
Yeah,
It's
that's fair.
very
I
difficult.
will say, if you're listening to this, if you have not tried watching Gold Zone, it is excellent.
I
Think
haven't
of it
seen it.
if you're an NFL fan, you probably know NFL Red Zone. They're essentially their whip around coverage that they have, which is hosted by Scott Hansen, and when it was on DirecTV, used to be hosted by Andrew Siciliano. Those two host it along with Matt Eisman and Jack Collinsworth. Um, it's 10 hours a day. You get essentially they'll show you all of the biggest moments. Essentially, their tagline is is like we have eyes on everything, so we can show you the best things. And
Huh.
I I generally supplement it with a bunch of other events that I like specifically want to watch. But if like I know I'll see all the medals there, so I don't have to worry about about missing one there. And it really does like it's really quality content. Really,
Yeah,
so I think they've done a good job with that.
that's good. Yeah.
I
I
I
mean,
did I did not expect 2 weeks ago to be heaping praise on NBC for how they put
no,
on the Olympics, but they've actually done a pretty good job.
no, yeah, and I would say definitely for the most part, NBC has done great. I've appreciated their coverage in many ways. Even just down to like the views from Paris. That's a nice way to you know, do something like to fill the space when there's not a competition going.
Sure.
Just all these small things I like.
There's one small thing that they did that's not really a small thing that I absolutely hate.
What is that?
Uh, why did they change the NBC Olympics song?
It's
Like,
not that bad though. The new one's not
no,
bad.
no, no. And they still play parts of like the main theme that was written by John Williams. But as far as I can tell, when they like intro their primetime coverage, or like really, I don't think I've ever heard them these Olympics use like the main intro theme, the iconic part that everybody knows. I don't think I've heard them use that, and that you can't. There's just you have to use that when you're covering the Olympics. I'm sorry, it's too good
Yeah,
not to use.
yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah, I think
There's
my main
there's shaking
annoyance.
things up doesn't always work, especially with theme music on events like that, especially ones when you've used for so long where that it
No,
creates like a bunch of nostalgia because it's synonymous with big events. See ESPN's change in NBA theme music a couple of years ago as a perfect example of that.
yeah, yeah. That's completely true. I think my biggest annoyance is just the Peacock platform. It's just so glitchy, and I'm very annoyed with it. But um, other than that, of course, yeah, NBC's done a great job.
Looking forward to everybody that uses the platform canceling their subscription in about 120
Yes.
hours.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah. It's really the only thing it's good
Yeah.
for is
The other thing that I'm annoyed with, so I haven't actually been watching this on Peacock. I've been using what's essentially an equivalent, which is on NBCOlympics.com. You can, if you have a cable package like I do, you can sign in with your TV provider and you'll be able to watch everything. Great. My one annoyance as a West Coast viewer is the NBC broadcast channel. It has live coverage on it uh, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time, but
Mhm.
it doesn't start in on the West Coast. You can't see that on the West Coast on the broadcast channel until 9 a.m. Pacific time, so 12 p.m. Eastern. And the events that they show on NBC during that time, you can't watch on the West Coast. There's no way to watch them.
Oh, that's really annoying.
Yeah,
That's extremely annoying.
so
Um,
it's not like it was big events or anything, like a big U.S. volleyball game today, or a big U.S. beach volleyball game yesterday, or maybe it was the day before. Nope,
that's
definitely
cool.
not.
Yeah. So
But
anyway, do we have any other? We should probably switch back to sports.
I
And
think we pretty much covered it for the sports that we're on today. We had our
okay,
first little bit of canoe sprint, some heats there, but other than that, I think we pretty much covered it. I will say one going back to surfing real quick. There's probably going to be a lot of annoyance with the fact that there was so many delays in the surfing, and they chose to hold it 10,000 miles away from Paris, all for days of delay. But
sure, yeah.
this is what I'll say. So it's the second Olympics with surfing in it, and this happens with surfing competitions. You have to have the waves right. It happens everywhere. It happened in the Tokyo Olympics too, that there was delays. You have to make sure that the conditions are just right, not just for
Yeah,
safety, but also just to get the best quality of competition.
right, right. And
And
surfing is a competition that literally relies almost entirely on the weather. Like other
yeah,
things can be stopped by the weather, but they can't be like made good by the weather.
yeah,
Whereas surfing, it
needs
completely
it.
relies on the weather.
Yes, completely rely and the other thing too. Sure, maybe you could argue that yeah, they probably should have held it somewhere a little bit closer to Paris, but where? Where would you hold that in France? And
Yeah,
especially
the Seine.
Especially Tahiti's waves are majestic when
Yes.
when the conditions are good.
Yeah.
Unbelievable surfing, unbelievable location. So I completely get why they did what they did. Now, Here's my question. What are they going to do for surfing in LA 2028?
I mean, there must be some
They've got
some
to,
good
they've got to use
location.
like La Jolla or something, I imagine.
Yeah, they're
Let's
gonna
see.
be on they're gonna be on the California coast for sure, I
Yeah,
think.
so let's see. I'm trying to figure out if I can find venue locations for the 2028 Olympics.
I
All
mean,
right, their venues. Here we go. Their website does have a venues page on it. Let's see if they've made a
huh,
determination on the surfing yet, because I know that they're still working on planning the Olympics. Okay, let's see their venues. Um, the site is not working very well, it turns out. Shocker. Um, Here we go.
is
Surfing.
it
They're going to do the surfing in coming soon.
oh, okay.
So they haven't decided yet. Fine.
Okay.
Fine. Is what it is. As for other venues that they're planning on using, let's see, in downtown Los Angeles, they're planning on using the crypto.com arena for gymnastics, which seems probably like, I mean, that seems fine. It seems like they could also do maybe a bigger sport in there.
Yeah.
The LA Convention Center is apparently going to be home to fencing, taekwondo, judo, wrestling, and table tennis.
Okay. How's that gonna work?
It's a great question. The LA Coliseum's gonna have the track and field events. That makes sense, I think. A lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, the let's see. Um it's also where the opening and closing ceremonies are going to be, at least in part. They're building a center in Valley Sports Park in the San Fernando Valley. It's going to host archery, cycling, or BMX cycling and skateboarding. Huh, that's interesting. Their
Mhm.
tennis stadium is iffy with where they're holding it. It's not a great location.
What is it?
At all. The Dignity Health Sports Park. It's not a very nice complex.
I don't think I know it.
Yeah. Long Beach Sports Park is going to hold a bunch of events like water polo and artistic swimming and handball and sailing. Okay, but then also, let's see. Okay, they're holding the golf competition at the Riviera Country Club. That's nice enough. Um, but then this is what's wild to me about what they're doing. They're holding the swimming competitions at SoFi Stadium.
What?
Yep,
What are they gonna d
they're
what?
going to build a pool inside the stadium.
Ooh, that
So, first of
oh,
all, First of all, they're also, prior to that, holding the opening ceremonies there. Then they're going to have a week between that and the opening ceremonies to essentially build a pool, unless I'm mistaken.
and fill it, which seems like maybe the harder
Yep.
thing.
Fill it. And then the other thing, that's not a temperature controlled stadium, I don't think. Like, it's open
Like,
to the air, it's open to the elements.
oh no.
Like, there's not a roof. Sorry, there is a roof on it,
But what
but
if it
it's,
rains?
if it rains, it's fine. There is a roof, but
Okay.
it's still like it's open air. So I don't entirely know what their whole thinking is there. Maybe it won't be that big of a deal. Um,
Also, this sounds like a lot of money to 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 get like thousands of gallons of water
yep, no, it does.
into the
They're
stadium.
also they're also holding softball and canoe slalom in Oklahoma City.
What?
Yep, you heard me
Okay.
right. Oklahoma City.
That's not even close.
Nope. And then as for soccer venues, well, they need a lot of them. So as of right now, it looks like the ones they're considering are the Rose Bowl, which makes sense. Exposition Park, fine, but then also some in the San Francisco Bay Area, including
Oh,
Stanford Soccer Stadium. Well, or is that, yes, it was the Stanford's football stadium. I actually don't know if they have the same football and soccer stadium. Uh, the 49ers Stadium, the San Jose Earthquake Stadium, and the Cal Berkeley is football stadium. So, but it's unclear whether these fields meet FIFA standards.
Yeah. I think just based on location alone, this isn't going to be as cool as the Paris Olympics
No, I
by
mean,
far.
let's be clear. The visuals, LA has nothing on Paris. You cannot
No,
top having beach volleyball
no,
under the Eiffel
unreal.
Tower,
No, you
having
can't.
the equestrian events at, where is it? Is it like the Palace of Versailles?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Versailles Palace.
Having the opening ceremony on the Seine.
Yeah.
What's your plan to
And
top that?
no,
Having
you can't.
gymnastics in Bercy Arena?
No, you can't.
You can't top that.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
I don't think there are many US cities that could top that. I don't
No,
maybe
there might
none.
there might not be any, which is
Yeah.
fine. I mean, it just so happens that Paris is one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, LA is
Not.
not. That I mean there are some very cool things in LA, but a city as a whole, not
Cool.
that.
Cool, yes. Beautiful?
No,
Not really.
no, not really. Yeah. So I guess we're probably wrapping up soon.
I think that I don't
Now,
have anything else, so I think that we'll wrap up here on CNC Live after day 11 of these Olympic Games. Thanks so much for listening, guys, to our hour and 6 minutes of talking. We'll be back here tomorrow to do it all again, and for the next 5 days, because this is 14 live streams down 19 to go here on the CNC Live Olympics broadcasts. Check out our podcast right here, CNC Talks YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, cctalks.com, everywhere that you get your podcasts. Discord is cctalks.com/Discord. Check us out there. Check us out on Twitter at CC Talks Podcast. Also follow Charlie at CC Talks Charlie. By the way, it seems our Twitter account is doing okay after the shadow ban.
good.
Yeah, it's always fun. But, anyway, I think that'll pretty much do it. Coming up tomorrow in the Olympics, day 12, as we near the end. Events in wrestling instead of weightlifting, more volleyball, beach volleyball, some taekwondo, table tennis, sport climbing, skateboarding, sailing, we hope, handball, golf instead of women's golf, field hockey, track cycling, canoe sprint, boxing, basketball, track and field, water polo, artistic swimming, and diving. We'll see you back here for all of that tomorrow. You know where to find us, right here on CNC Talks YouTube, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. For now, though, for our entire team, Morris, Zach, Charlie, I'm Colin. See you back here, same time tomorrow.
Yeah.